Eric Purdy here, getting ready to do a 10-gallon stone smoke porter clone brew. This is my setup. I'll talk about it a little bit more in the next couple of minutes. But my idea today is just to show you my process, show you some of my equipment, and keep all my friends kind of up to speed on what I've been doing. Nobody's really seen this setup except for my family, and I'm pretty proud of building everything myself. So let me show you. This is the workshop here. Just got done setting up my March pump and my plate chiller. I'll talk about here in a little bit. But it's a beautiful Saturday morning, and doing some brewing. This is my converted fridge, which is my kegerator. I've got two taps. I've got Sierra Nevada 10-gallon brew that I did back April 7th, and then I've got a Stone IPA clone that I didn't put all the details up on the board yet. 10-gallon batches turn out 2 kegs per batch, so I'm only set up with the 2 tap handles now, and I change them out when I've got a little bit more time and need to have a fresh keg. But should be adding some more tap handles here soon. This is the cart I welded up. I've used it 5 or 6 times now, and I've had some problems. I've had to make some adjustments. This is the first time I'm using the plate chiller and the March pump, but so far everything's coming along pretty good today. My water meter. I found this is pretty helpful when filling my sanitation buckets. I don't have to fill 5-gallon buckets and measure in the sanitizer I'm using. I've also got a hard pipe to fill the keg here, so it makes it a lot easier. Had a little trouble this morning with my heat that's generated around the keg. I'm getting a little hot and melting my ball valve handle, and I ruined a digital thermometer that I had set up. So still a few more changes I need to make, but all in all it's turned out pretty good today. Here's my boil pot and also my hot liquor tank. As you can see, I've already got my mash tun filled up here with water that's 168 degrees. I'm doing a little mashing right now. Dropped a little temperature when I pumped it into the mash tun. We're holding at 163.8. This is my new equipment, just set up today. Got my March pump here and plate chiller. It's a 40 plate chiller that I got from Due to Diesel. I'm all sanitized and in the process. So got about 45 minutes left on the mash, and then I'll be doing a fly sparge for the first time. I will kind of walk you through the process as I keep going here. I'm fairly new to all this, but been doing 10-gallon brews for 5 or 6 times now, and it's been pretty good so far, but I still have a lot to learn, so stay tuned. Okay, here's my recipe. I've added 13 gallons to my mash tun, taking up about a gallon between the dead space down here in my boil pot and the dead space in my pump and tubing. So my next step is to add 3.72 gallons to my pot. I'm going to do that by making sure my meter's primed, set here on an even number, 3.72. Going to take it up to 1, 2, 3, and about 3/4 of that next number, so about 8 3/4. This is pumping through my piping into my boil pot, and this will be my fly sparge water. I found the meters pretty helpful because there's no guesswork, no measuring. I can just run it through here and kind of keep on top of everything. There's a little bit of measurement ahead of time and calculating on paper, but it should keep it a lot smoother when I actually do the brew like I'm doing right now. So we're getting close. I'll call that even. So I want to bring this back up to 168 or so. I've still got a little bit of time left on my timer for my mash, so I'm going to hold off starting the heat right now. But in the next few minutes, I should be getting going and running this water through my mash tun. Okay, next step here is we're going to be heating up the sparge water. It's in the pot right now. And from there I'm going to be sparging into my ice chest. As at the same time I'm going to be draining the mash water from the wort at this point, from the mash tun down into these buckets. I don't have a separate hot liquor tank at this point, so I really need to continue to use my boil pot to heat the water, but I think that's going to be the next investment. So what I'll be doing is draining this mash tun at the same time I'm adding water in for the fly sparge, and at the end I should end up with just about 12 gallons of water to begin my boil. I'm going to then do a 90-minute boil and add hops at the 90, and then at the 15 I should end up with a little over 11.5 gallons at the end to circulate through my chiller and eventually put in the fermenters. So we'll see how it goes. Okay, we're in the process of sparging. I've added my my sparge water, and I'm still draining off the remainder here. Got another couple gallons to go. I've already added some of my wort here to my boil pot. I've got about 9.5 gallons in the pot. As soon as I get done here, I'll top up to 12 and I'll begin my boil. Something else I forgot to mention, I put these little ports in my mash tun and in my boil pot right here. They're sealed. If you look inside, I'll give you an idea. You can't see that. It's a copper tube that allows it to stay watertight. The thermometer can go in and sit right there and read an accurate temperature, but that way I can move thermometers between different vessels, and it works pretty good. Be back in a minute. Okay, I've added my runnings here to my boil pot, and I'm a hair over 12 gallons in here, and that's exactly what I want. Now I need to light the burner. We're going to start our boil. I have a pretty high temp burner, and like to keep my eyebrows when I light it, so this is the best method I've been able to find. Got a 90-minute boil going, so we'll bring this to a boil, add some hops, and then time it for 90 minutes. We'll keep track as we go along here. Brought my wort up to 212 degrees. It's boiling here. I've added my first hop addition in a bag so that I don't get a bunch of hops down in the bottom of my boil pot. And I'm going to let this run for about 90 minutes. I'm going to add the second batch of hops, and then we'll chill it from there. So we've got maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours left. Okay, down to 12 minutes left on the boil. I've just added my second addition of hops, and it's all sitting in this bag right here. I confirmed a few minutes ago that I'm back down to just over 11.5 gallons, right where I want to be. I've got everything sanitized and hooked up. I want to show you my pump situation. This here is my pump, and this is my wort chiller. I've got a thermometer in line here on the output side of the beer, and I've got my water hooked up with a pre-cooling bath here in ice water. This is my old submersible chiller that I've got in a bucket and a big gallon-sized chunk of ice in there. Hopefully that'll chill it down a little bit. So the water comes out of my city water supply through the pre-coil into my chiller and then back out onto the ground. I don't have a hose to collect it this time, but I will next time. These are my buckets. They're all ready to go. They're sanitized. And while I'm thinking about it, I'm going to add the yeast. This is a yeast culture that I mixed up a couple of days ago. You can see here on the bottom the yeast is sitting down here. I chilled it last night in the fridge. And now what we're going to do is dump half in each bucket and get it ready to go. So I'm going to swirl it up. I'm going to put about half of it in here, roughly. And about half of it in here. That should get things started nicely. I keep them covered up like that so that I don't get any unnatural yeast in there. And should be ready to go. As soon as the clock hits 0, start chilling my wort, and I'll show you at that point. Okay, I've got my beer flowing. What I'm doing is I'm recirculating the beer, or wort I guess you could say. I've ended my boil, it's a 90-minute boil. What I'm doing is I'm sucking beer out of this tube here into my pump, circulating it into my wort chiller. It's then coming out of the wort chiller back into the pot, and then I'm circulating cold city water through my pre-chiller, through my my plate chiller here, and then onto the ground. It's pretty hot to the touch. It's definitely warm, so it's doing its job. If I'm looking at the thermometer here on the wort temperature, I'm about 144 degrees and rapidly dropping. So it's definitely doing its job. I think in the next 5-6 minutes we should be done. I need to get down to 70 degrees, and we will see how it goes. At that point, I'm going to then close the valve on the pump, pull this out, and dump it directly into my two fermenting buckets, but I need to be below 70 so it doesn't kill the yeast. What I've done here is I've recirculated the beer. I did have this hose right here running back up into the top of my boil pot and recirculating until I got to the temperature I wanted down here. By playing around with the water flow and the flow of beer, faster water flow, slower beer flow, I've been able to drop the temperature down almost immediately to about 72 degrees, and now I've transferred it here. I'm draining it into my fermenter, if you can see that, real slow, but I'm going to strain it, help to aerate it a little bit, and then I'll make sure I get up here till about 5 gallons on this one. I'll change it over here to the 5 gallons and see exactly how close to my target I've gotten. Again, it's maintaining about 72 degrees. Everything is working, and should be a success for the first time.